Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're looking at 30 hobbies.
30 hobbies.
Yeah, it are.
Truly unique.
Yeah, really neat.
The kind that make you go, wait, people actually do that. I bet you're listening to this.
Right.
Because you love learning new things. And maybe you're even looking for something new to try out yourself.
Right.
Fair warning, though.
Yeah.
You might just end up with 30 new things on your bucket list.
It's very possible. Yeah, and I think is so cool about this list is as it's not just a list of activities. It's really like a window into human creativity and how diverse it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So let's jump right in. The first group is all about your artistic side.
Mm-hmm.
And the script starts with paper quilling.
Oh, yeah. Which
I've never done it.
Yeah, have you ever done it?
I have not.
It looks like origami's like super detailed.
Very detailed.
Yeah.
Like unbelievably detailed. Like
how those tiny little scrolls and things.
I know.
Like how much patience do you need?
Yeah, but it's not even just patience. I think it's like a whole mindset of being able to focus that finely and create something so delicate and so detailed. Like it must be almost meditative in a way.
That's a great point. Then we have kintsugi, which is something I find really interesting.
Tell me about that one. I don't know that one.
Kintsugi is the Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold. So you actually highlight the cracks instead of hiding them.
Wow.
And it's really cool.
So instead of trying to like make it look like it was never broken, you're like actually highlighting the fact that it was broken.
Yes. And there's this whole philosophy behind it, which is like really beautiful.
I like that a lot.
It's like instead of hiding flaws, you embrace them and you make them part of the object's history and beauty.
Yeah, like that Japanese aesthetic of like finding the beauty in imperfection.
Yeah, exactly. Like wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi, yes.
Like those perfectly imperfect mugs that everybody loves.
Yeah.
But like on another level.
Totally elevated.
Yeah. Okay, from delicate paper to precious metal, this list has range. So the next one is miniature model building.
Oh, yeah.
I've always been so fascinated by this. Those tiny, detailed worlds, I would make such a mess of that.
Well, I think that's part of the appeal.
Yeah.
For a lot of people that do these types of hobbies is the challenge.
Yeah.
And that focus that it demands.
Yeah.
And you get to kind of like play God in a way. You're creating these worlds.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And speaking of defying gravity, how about rock balancing art?
Rock balancing.
Have you ever seen this?
I have.
The way that people can balance rocks like on top of each other.
I know.
It's like impossible.
It's wild. It makes you wonder if they're using glue or something.
Right. Like how is that even possible?
I don't know. It's all about finding the balance point. And it's interesting because it's temporary too.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's this art form that exists until the wind blows or a wave comes in or something.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
So it's like a reminder that nothing is permanent, even beauty.
That is deep for rockerings.
I know, right.
Okay. And to wrap up this first segment of art stuff, we've got mandalas and dot art.
I love those.
Have you ever done it?
I haven't, but I find them so satisfying to look at, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I'm looking at these patterns and it's so detailed with these tiny dots everywhere. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm getting stressed just thinking about doing that.
But you know, that's the thing about it. For a lot of people that do it, it's actually a stress reliever.
Oh, really?
Because it's that repetitive motion. It's that focus on each individual dot and the placement of it. It can be very meditative and calming.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on from being all artsy and head outdoors. The next batch of hobbies will get you moving and exploring.
Okay.
Let's go outside.
First on the list is geocaching.
Oh, fun.
Which sounds like a tech-savvy treasure hunt.
Yeah, it's like a modern-day treasure hunt.
Yeah. So what is it about geocaching that's so appealing?
Well, it's the thrill of the hunt, for one. But I think it's also the community aspect. Like, people create these elaborate caches and they hide them in really interesting places.
Yeah. And then other people go and try to find them using GPS coordinates. It's like a global game of hide and seek.
And you're getting exercise and exploring new places you might not otherwise go.
Right. And, you know, who knows what you're going to find.
Yeah. And speaking of exploring, this list also includes foraging.
Well, foraging is cool.
Which seems to be pretty trendy these days.
Yeah, it is.
So is it more than just picking berries in the woods?
I think so.
Yeah.
Foraging is really about knowledge, you know, knowing which plants are safe to eat, the best times to harvest them.
Okay.
Really being respectful of the environment. So it connects you to the land and the cycles of nature.
Yeah, definitely do your research before you start eating random plants out in the woods. Safety first.
Please do. Please do.
Okay. From land to water. Next up is magnet fishing, which just sounds odd.
Magnet fishing. What is that?
I know, right? So you're literally fishing for metal objects with a magnet.
Okay, so not actual fish.
Not fish. No, like old tools and bicycles and who knows what else.
Wow.
And people actually do this.
So it's like a muddy underwater treasure hunt.
Yeah. Exactly. Who knows what you're going to find?
That's kind of cool.
Beats catching a boot.
Yeah.
Now, for a hobby that requires a bit more patience, there's bird watching.
Oh, yeah.
And I always picture, like, you know, older folks with binoculars, but it's got to be more to it than that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Bird watching is about observation.
Yeah.
Pattern recognition, almost like detective work in a way.
Yeah.
You know, you're identifying different species, understanding their behaviors, appreciating their beauty, and you really kind of start to tune into this whole world that's going on around us all the time, but we often don't even notice it.
So like nature's version of a Where's Waldo book.
Yes, exactly.
And if you're looking for more of a workout, this script mentions trail running.
Oh, yeah. Trail running is great.
So what's the draw of trail running compared to just regular running?
Well, you're out in nature for one.
Right.
Right? Like you're surrounded by trees and wildlife.
Right.
You're breathing fresh air.
Right.
You're navigating challenging terrain. So there's like a mental element to it, too.
I bet. Yeah. Avoiding tripping over roots and rocks.
Exactly. Having to stay focused on the trail.
And the last one in this outdoorsy group is longboarding or skate cruising, which just sounds cool.
Yeah, it does.
Is it as easy as it looks in those videos?
You know, I think it takes practice.
Yeah.
But I think that's part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's a really great way to get around.
Yeah.
Enjoy the outdoors. And, you know, there's like a style element to it, too.
Right. Absolutely. All right. From cruising on pavement to exercising our brains, the next category is all about hobbies that make you think.
Okay.
First up is calligraphy.
Oh, nice.
The art of fancy handwriting.
Beautiful handwriting.
Do people really still do that in the age of texting?
I think so. I think more than you might expect.
Yeah.
It's about appreciating the beauty of letters, the elegance of a handwritten note.
Yeah.
Plus the focus it requires can be really therapeutic.
It's like mindfulness, but with prettier results than doodles.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now for one that raised my eyebrow a little bit, lockpicking.
Lockpicking.
Is that even legal?
Learning it ethically is.
Ethically, okay.
Yes. So, you know, obviously we don't want people going around picking locks illegally.
Yeah, don't get arrested, guys.
But if you learn it in a safe and ethical environment, it's actually a really interesting hobby because it's all about understanding the mechanics of locks.
Yeah.
The precision it requires.
Oh, wow.
To manipulate them. It's like a puzzle.
Right.
But a puzzle with like real-world applications.
Like if you lock yourself out of your house, you can be the hero.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of puzzles, this list also includes speed cubing.
Oh, yeah. Speed cubing. That's impressive.
I know. I've always been mesmerized by people who can do that so quickly.
Mm.
So what's the appeal of speed cubing beyond just solving the Rubik's Cube?
Well, it's a mental challenge.
Yeah.
It's about hand-eye coordination, problem solving.
Right.
Plus, there's a competitive element to it.
Right.
Like, people are always trying to beat their best times.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Next up is something a bit more zen, singing bowl meditation.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the deal with those bowls and their weird sounds?
It's not really about the sound itself. It's about the vibrations that the bowls produce. When you strike them, those sound waves can be very calming, and they promote relaxation and even like deeper states of awareness.
So it's like a sonic massage for your brain.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I might have to check that out. And last in this brainy bunch is memory palace training.
Okay.
Which sounds like something straight out of Sherlock Holmes.
I know. It's like a superpower.
Right. Is that really something people can learn?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a technique for improving memory.
Okay.
By associating information with specific locations in a familiar space. So you're basically creating a mental map.
Oh, wow.
To store and retrieve information.
So you're like mentally decorating your house with facts and figures.
Yes, exactly. Like you could walk through your house in your mind and remember your grocery list or
that's cool.
A speech you have to give.
I bet that would come in handy for trivia night.
Totally.
Okay.
It would win every time.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we have a lot of hobbies.
Paper quilling to rock balancing. It's amazing how creative people are.
I know.
It's inspiring.
It is inspiring.
I think we need to take a little break.
Let's take a break and we'll come back with even more unusual hobbies.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of unusual hobbies. So many creative things people are up to.
I know. I'm still thinking about that magnet fishing from our last segment. Just the idea of pulling up who knows what from the bottom of a lake?
You never know what you're going to find.
It's like a time capsule, but full of mud and surprises.
Right. And there's the historical element, too. Like, you might find something really old, like a piece of the past just sitting there underwater.
And speaking of history, I'm also really intrigued by kintsugi.
Oh, yeah. That one's cool.
It's not just about fixing pottery. It's about that whole philosophy of highlighting the flaws, finding beauty in imperfection.
Right. Like embracing your imperfections.
It's a good life lesson, too, don't you think?
Totally. Like, we all have our cracks and scars, but those are part of what make us unique.
Yeah. It's like saying our flaws are part of our story. I love that. Okay, enough deep thoughts for now. Let's get back to this list. We've got a whole bunch of DIY and crafting hobbies coming up, starting with leather crafting.
Leather crafting.
I'm picturing like rugged leather bags and belts.
Yeah, that's definitely popular.
You know what the main thing people make?
You can make all sorts of things with leather wallets, journals, furniture. It's about working with a natural material, learning the techniques to cut, shape, and stitch it.
I bet there's a certain satisfaction in creating something durable, long-lasting, something you can actually use.
Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of things you can use, this list also includes sourdough and artisan bread making.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I'll admit I've tried making sourdough before, and it wasn't pretty.
It's definitely a process. You need patience for sourdough.
It's intimidating.
It's all about the slow fermentation, the wild yeast doing its thing. But when you get it right, the flavor is amazing.
And the smell of fresh bread baking? Nothing beats that. Okay, now for a hobby that seems super specific, knife sharpening.
Knife sharpening.
Is that really something people do for fun?
More than you'd think.
Really?
It's about precision, getting that perfect edge.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, a sharp knife is actually safer to use.
Ooh, that's a good point.
So it's practical, too.
I never thought about it that way. I just picture myself accidentally slicing my finger off, trying to get that perfect angle.
Yeah. Gotta be careful.
Maybe I'll leave this one to the pros. Speaking of pros, next on the list is perfume making.
Perfume making. That sounds interesting.
I'm picturing fancy labs and tons of tiny bottles.
It could be quite scientific, but you can also do it at home.
Oh, really?
It's all about understanding different scents, how they interact, blending them to create something unique.
So basically you're a mad scientist, but with good smelling results.
Exactly.
I wonder what the weirdest perfume combination would be. Maybe pickle and chocolate?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Before I get grossed out, this script also mentions upcycling.
Upcycling, yeah.
It's all about sustainability these days.
Upcycling is about creativity, A&D sustainability. It's taking something old or discarded and transforming it into something new and valuable.
So it's like a DIY makeover for old junk.
Exactly.
I can see the appeal. It's good for the planet. And your wallet.
And it's fun. And finally, to round out this crafty bunch, we've got book binding.
Book binding. Oh, wow.
I love the idea of making my own journals, but isn't that super complicated?
It can be as simple or complex as you want it to be. There are basic techniques you can learn to bind your own notebooks, or you can get really elaborate with different stitches and cover designs. It's like a personalized touch for your thoughts and ideas. I bet those journals would make great gifts, too. Okay, from books to the truly bizarre.
Our next category is all about the oddball hobbies that make you go, huh, that's a thing. First up is letterboxing.
Letterboxing? What's that?
It sounds like geocaching's artsy cousin.
Okay.
So you follow clues to find hidden boxes. But instead of trinkets, there's a logbook and a rubber stamp.
So you get the thrill of the hunt, but also a creative element.
Yeah, you stamp the logbook and leave your mark. I like that. That's cool.
So it's like a scavenger hunt, but with a personalized touch. Okay, now for one that sounds physically challenging, juggling or poi spinning.
Oh, yeah. Those terms.
I have trouble walking and chewing gum at the same time, so these are definitely not for me.
It definitely takes practice and coordination.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to challenge your brain and body.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense of accomplishment when you finally master a new trick.
Plus, it's a guaranteed way to impress at parties. Speaking of impressing people, next up is soap bubble art.
Soap bubble art. Wait, you can make art out of bubbles.
Apparently you can.
How does that work?
It's about capturing those fleeting moments of beauty, using special solutions and techniques to create bubble prints on paper or canvas.
So you're like preserving the bubble?
I guess so. I'm picturing like iridescent swirls and patterns. It sounds really cool.
I have to look that up.
Okay, now for a hobby that's both fascinating and potentially delicious, mycology.
Explain mycology. The study of mushrooms?
Yeah, I'll admit my knowledge of fungi is limited to the mushrooms I get at the grocery store.
Mycology is a whole world. You can learn to identify different species in the wild, cultivate your own mushrooms at home, even explore the culinary uses of edible fungi.
But definitely emphasize the consult an expert before eating anything part.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Some mushrooms can be very dangerous.
I don't want our listeners getting sick from a bad mushroom. Now for a hobby that seems tailor-made for our modern attention spans. Speed reading and book summarizing.
Oh, yeah. That would be a useful skill.
I feel like I need that skill just to keep up with my email inbox.
Right. It's all about efficiency. Speed reading is training your eyes to move faster across the page, while book summarizing is about extracting the key information from a text.
So it's like reading on fast forward, but still getting the gist.
Exactly.
Sign me up.
And speaking of training, this list also includes pet training.
Oh, pet training. That's always fun.
But we're not just talking about sit and stay, are we?
Think beyond the basics. You can teach your pet all sorts of cool tricks, from skateboarding to fetching specific toys. It's about building a bond, challenging their minds, and having fun together. Plus, it's guaranteed internet fame if you can train your cat to do something amazing.
Totally.
Now for a hobby that's all about rhythm and sound. Beatboxing.
Beatboxing. I can't even clap in time to music.
Me neither. This one's definitely not for me.
It's all about vocal percussion. Using your mouth to create beats and rhythms.
It's pretty impressive when it's done well.
It is. It takes a lot of skill.
And you don't even need an instrument, just your own voice.
That's true.
Okay, last but not least, we've got lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. That sounds a little out there.
It does. It's like something from a sci-fi movie.
What is it exactly?
It's about becoming aware that you're dreaming while you're dreaming.
Whoa, so you know you're dreaming.
It takes practice.
Yeah.
But people report being able to control their dreams, even fly or talk to deceased loved ones.
Yeah, that's mind-blowing.
It's like having your own personal virtual reality world inside your head. I wonder if it's possible to order pizza in a lucid dream.
Now that's a good question.
Well, we made it. We journeyed through a whole world of hobbies. Some familiar, some downright bizarre. I'm feeling inspired. How about you?
Definitely. It's amazing how much is out there.
I know. It's like we've opened a door to all these different ways people express themselves, challenge themselves, or just unwind and have fun.
Right. Like, it really shows you the diversity of human creativity.
No, it makes you realize there's so much out there beyond the usual stuff. I'm already thinking about which ones I want to try first.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't become a master lockpicker or a champion speed cuber, just the act of trying something new can be really enriching.
It's about expanding your horizons, pushing your boundaries a bit.
Yeah.
I bet even attempting something like rock balancing teaches you something about patience and focus.
Yeah, totally. And who knows, maybe you discover a hidden talent or a passion you never knew you had.
That's a good point. Okay, before we wrap up, any final thoughts or takeaways you want to leave our listener with?
I'd say don't let this list just be a list.
Yeah.
Let it be a spark.
Yeah.
Pick one thing, even if it seems a bit out there, and do some research. Watch a video. Maybe even try it out. You never know where it might lead.
That's great advice. Don't be afraid to get a little weird, a little creative, a little adventurous.
And remember, hobbies are supposed to be fun.
Right.
So don't get too hung up on being good at it.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the process of learning and exploring.
Perfect note to end on. So to our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, maybe even given you some ideas for your next adventure. Go out there and explore.
Happy hobbying.